Hey everybody, Roger Levin here with your orthodontic practice production pearl of the week. Well, our newest orthodontic client came with one complaint about his practice. Not unusual at all for people to call up and have one complaint, even though there are many, many things that can be worked on to reach the practice potential. This was a good practice, but he was unhappy because there had been a 7% decline in his treatment coordinator close rates or conversions. Now, first of all, I want to give him a lot of credit for measuring because so many practices really don't measure. They don't know how many people call that don't schedule, how many schedule that don't come in, and most do know their close rate percentages, but they're pretty loose about it. This guy was on top of his game and said, okay, time to get some help. Well, what we found was in his area, the economy was actually performing a little worse than the rest of the country. You know, when we talk about the economy, well, make sure you look at your local economy. That's what's most important. You know, what's going on 3 states away is not relevant or germane to an orthodontic practice. And his economy had dropped. Now, fortunately, I've been doing this job for 41 years and over 5,000 orthodontic practices for our consulting firm to work with in management and referral marketing. And the benefit of more years is experience. And I have seen what happens both in national recessions or in local economy drop-offs many times in my career. And the way it works out is this. First, we have a down economy. There's a bit of paralysis, and then the general dentists feel it first. They feel it first because their patients start putting off hygiene, new patients stop coming in, people accept less treatment. If you get GP referrals, and we've studied this, we have the largest referral marketing program in orthodontics, so we've studied this with data intensely. What happens is the GPs slow down their referrals. It's a strange human psychology of if I keep the patients in my practice, I'll be more protected. So they slow down the referrals, and now you're going to be affected by the adult market more because with Invisalign and aligners, we have a lot more adults coming in. Well, they come in mainly for aesthetics. They will put that off at the cost of orthodontics if they're concerned about the economy. That was number one. Number two, wealthy people also pull back. They have plenty of money. It doesn't matter if they purchase an orthodontic case, but they start pulling back and they see $5,000, $6,000 of expense and they just decide, you know what? I'm not comfortable. I'll pull back. I don't need it now. It's the same mentality of wealthy people who get out of stocks and go into treasuries that are much safer in their opinion, even though they have plenty of money. So wealthy people also pull back. Then you get patients coming in that don't accept treatment. They don't convert. And that is what this orthodontist was seeing. And he was right. At 7%, it could become 11%. He was losing cases because the TC, no fault of hers, was still doing exactly what she always did. But people were not responding the same way. So when we worked with her on the scripting, especially the financial options, when we taught her how to make every parent or patient aware up front there were financial options, there's always a way to afford treatment, gave her the scripting, that immediately began to boost the close rates. We actually reduced their down payment, which was 25% of the case. We brought it down to 15%, which again, increased the conversions because there are people that can't afford the down payment, and there are also people today that can't afford the monthly payment. So even though some of you don't like this next thing I'm going to mention, we added more patient financing from an external source because an internal payment plan is not the same as borrowing money for the case. And again, the conversion rates went up. So even though you had to give up a little bit of the fee to the patient financing company, the conversion rates went up. The practice was higher production and more profitable than it had ever been before. Now, these changes could have all been made a year ago, 2 years ago, and they would have helped. But now they were essential because we were beginning to move into turnaround territory. They were down 7% in the conversion rate. Well, that shows up in cash flow 6 months, 9 months, and 12 months later. So Keep that in mind. Your TC needs new skills, hands-on training, special programming. And by the way, they cannot learn it in one session or one day. Our minimum is a 6-month program because you need to learn it, practice it, reinforce it. So when you work with your TC, don't do it just once. Keep going back and reviewing, and of course, know your numbers. As always, I wish you increased practice production and referrals every year, and I'll see you next week.